Hello, hello. It is Sunday, May 18th. How are you all doing? Sorry I didn't get on yesterday. I was a little busy, but there's a lot to break down. And let's see, Bitcoin's surging. Are you all paying attention to the price? I believe right now we did hit 107,000. We're right at 105,000. History is being made, not just because of the price of Bitcoin, though. There's some things that happened on Friday with the debt rating for the U.S. It was downgraded. We're going to talk more about that. But Bitcoin, where in the past I think the price would have been dropping, it's actually acting as a hedge, a safe haven. It's not acting as it normally would as a risk on assets. And I'll show you what the stock futures look like right now compared to Bitcoin. This is truly historic. So very exciting stuff. But how are you all doing? How's everybody doing tonight? I know it's a little bit late for people like on the East Coast, but let's see, it's 8:15 Central Time. So I know we have people in Pacific, Northwest. So hopefully everyone's having a good evening. Let's pull up the Bitcoin price here. So we are sitting at just below 105,000. This is super exciting, y'all. And I think if anything, it's because of everything else that's happening right now that, it's not like a perfect scenario for Bitcoin if it were a risk on asset. The price action we're seeing right now is truly remarkable. I'm going to show you some of the purchasing that we're seeing and why I feel that way. But if we look at the alt market cap, it is climbing. I mean, it's not where we were back in December when the market topped out, but we are seeing a positive trend there. That said, for us to really see Altseason, we need Bitcoin dominance to drop really into likely like the low 50%. So we're not quite seeing what we need yet, but this is how it goes. We see Bitcoin have its run, then we see the large caps like Ethereum. We'll see Solana have their run, and then we will see the other smaller caps start to run if we can see this run continue. And it's looking more and more like it will happen. Raoul Pal has been saying that he expects it to run into late July into August. We'll see. There are still some macro events, which is why I tend to be cautiously optimistic, because not everything is perfect right now in the overall economy. But things are certainly trending in the right direction, I have to say. And seeing Bitcoin doing what it's doing right now is really exciting. I didn't know what to expect when on Friday, Moody's downgraded the U.S. debt. So seeing this type of price action it's really, it's very exciting. It's a little bit surprising, actually. I wasn't sure exactly how the market would react. But I do want to dig into a couple of things on the DePIN side. GeoNet was an honoree and finalist for this Innovator Award. It looks like Helium actually ended up winning it. GeoNet, though, I think these are really the top two projects right now as far as execution. Helium's obviously been around for quite a while. They're a major pioneer in the DePIN space, and the things they've been doing is really impressive. But GeoNet, well deserving as well, obviously. So kudos to both of them. And then the other thing I wanted to call out is for HiveMapper. I did host their AMA recently, and it looks like I thought it went pretty well. And it looks like they're going to have me host their AMAs moving forward. So I think that's really exciting. I did push Ariel on some things, and I have to say they responded really well. And some of the things that I pressured them on a little bit, they have responded to. And they're making some changes. One of the things that came out here is that they updated their coin market cap profile to have more transparency. That was one of the things I really pushed them on, was having more transparency. So some of the things that they added, I was just kind of digging through here. It looks like their token unlocks and allocation, they have all of this stuff updated in coin market cap. So really happy to see that they took some of the stuff that I pushed them on to heart, a lot of that was from the community, right? So I read the community feedback and their questions, and that was how I really formatted that AMA to make sure that everyone was heard. So I'm excited that I'll be hosting those AMAs from now on. And, Ario's basically giving me free reign. He's like, listen, like push me on whatever questions you have. So we will obviously be posting when the next AMA is happening. So make sure that, submit your questions so that I can prepare for that. The other thing that I pushed him on was an update on estimated shipping, because this is something we weren't seeing. A lot of people were getting really frustrated that they didn't know when they were going to get their shipment. So very exciting to see that they are finally having more transparency there. One of the other things I want to pull up here. Let's see. They also have some other information that they came out with on Discord. I'm going to pull that up if I can find it here. I think this is it right here. Yeah. So they said below is a breakdown within 80% confidence. So that's what I was just showing you. As we get closer to late April and beyond, our windows will gain more clarity. And they said that the B Wi-Fi production will kick off on May 28th. So this was addressed in the AMA. Essentially, they said they were waiting for a part, and once they had that part, they could start manufacturing the Wi-Fi device. So John's the man, though. By the way, John's awesome. So they put that on Discord. So I mean, my main takeaway there is, I think we wanted more transparency. We wanted more information on shipping schedule, and I'm glad to see that they did take that to heart and they're implementing those changes. And then I think moving forward with the AMAs, I'll be able to push them on things they need to be pushed on. And I think that'll be good for sure. But looking at the broader crypto news, let me pull this up here again. Big things for Bitcoin right now, y'all. We have Bitcoin just posted their highly weekly close in history. Like we are witnessing history right now. And it's not like things are perfect. Like we don't have the Fed lowering rates. We don't have full on quantitative easing. I think for this to be happening right now is just very impressive. And I think we are literally witnessing history right now, which is super exciting. When you look at where it ranks amongst assets in the world, obviously gold is number one, but I mean, look at where Bitcoin is climbing up to. It's wild. It's wild. We've been talking about it for so long. To see it actually happening is super cool. And then you have 14 states that have invested in MicroStrategy. Let's see here. So I searched on this a little bit. This is the mayor of Panama City posted this. There's no definitive news that they're going to be launching a Bitcoin reserve, but the fact that he posted this makes me believe that they are certainly looking into it at the very least. You have Florida's pension fund is one of the funds that has invested in MicroStrategy. I think we're going to see more and more of this divulged as to who is buying. And then this is the stuff you start seeing. This is when you start to see the market really take off again. When on CNBC, they're talking about the MicroStrategy yield fund. This is wild. I just think back, right, to where we were not that long ago when FTX went down, when people were losing their butts left and right. And a lot of people thought that crypto was dead, and then the people that really stuck through the bear market to see where we're at right now, it was not that long ago that things were looking super dire. Even earlier this year, right? I mean, the sentiment was super low, but we're starting to see things really come together. What else we have? Oh, this This is the other thing you see, like these whales, they know. Um, this guy put this in, I think it was yesterday before this big run today. So you wonder, like, how, how do they know? They have to have some insider information, something. But still, I mean, a 40x long on a $390 million position. I mean, you have to pay attention to it. These are definitely the accounts to be watching. And then this video, they're talking about how gold is a $22 trillion asset. So in this video, we're really looking at the potential of Bitcoin. You look at 11 times the market cap when it comes to gold. But I talked about this the other day. We're about to see the biggest transfer of wealth in history. As the baby boomers get older, as the old money, starts to pass that money along to the next generation. What do you think they're going to invest in? Like, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some investment in gold, but Bitcoin is going to garner so much investment. And we really haven't seen retail come in a meaningful way. Like, a lot of this has been institutionally led in this bull run. So it's just, I think once we get through, the OTC purchases and we see that supply crunch really hit, things are going to move very quickly. And once we get into price discovery, I mean, the price of Bitcoin could move up very quickly. And I think we're getting really close. It's super exciting. And looking at some of the different catalysts that could come together, and it's funny because this is what I've been talking about for the last 2 months, but I 100% agree with this take. You look at the Genius Act, that's that stablecoin bill, right? That almost passed. It narrowly failed, but I think they're going back to the drawing board. They're going to come back. I think it will get passed. And then you have the ending of QT, but really the beginning of quantitative easing. And I think we're starting to see some stealth QE. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. That is really going to be a major catalyst. And dropping in interest rates will be nice when it happens. I'm not really holding my breath at this point. Like Jerome Powell, we don't know what he's going to do as far as interest rates, but I think QE is going to start. And I'm going to explain a little bit why I think it already kind of has started, actually. But I think it's going to be coming. I think that is going to be as important as anything. So if we can get that stablecoin bill passed, that's going to be massive, absolutely massive. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, the downgrade of the U.S. debt. How's everybody doing? Hit me up in the comments. We are going to go into this happened. This is kind of dirty. Moody's downgraded the U.S. debt right before the markets closed on Friday. And there's a lot of debate right now as to whether this was a political thing or why it happened. Regardless, I just want to put it into perspective what happened. Because I think there's a lot of people that are making a huge deal of it, and there's a lot of people that are saying it doesn't matter at all. And it just like most things, I think it's somewhere in the middle. We basically went from this, AAA rating to this second rating, so still high grade. I think I've seen people put it into perspective as it went from having a 100% score to a 97% score. So is it as big of a deal as some people are making it out to be? Probably not, but it is still a big deal. Okay. I think this goes to show, because the reasoning behind this was the growing debt. And there's no doubt that right now we have potentially hit the point of no return. It's not just us, the countries around the world are doing this, but the fiat system is failing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Now, I'm not saying it's going to fail tomorrow, but it is failing. This started with the Nixon shock back in the 70s when we got rid of the gold standard, and we are just printing and devaluing the currency. And that's what's going to have to continue happening until it doesn't work anymore. And I think the really interesting thing is, how the markets have reacted. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But for the people politicizing it, I will say this is the CEO of Moody's. He obviously does have a specific political leaning. And I'm not personally saying that he is, that Moody's made this move for a political reason, but I'm not saying it's not possible. And it is worth noting that they had Lehman rated at AAA 2 days before filing for bankruptcy. Okay, so it's worth mentioning. That said, I still think that it is something we need to pay attention to. And the markets are paying attention to it. These are the futures. This just came out like probably 30 minutes ago or so, 38 minutes ago. So it looks like the stock market is going to open down tomorrow. Not any surprise. The last few times, now Moody's hasn't downgraded the U.S. before, but we did have another credit rating agency that did back in, I think it was 2021 or 2022. We also had it happen back in, I believe it was 2011. Both times the stock market dropped by around 7% following those downgrades. So I'm not surprised to see that the futures are down. I think what is surprising, though, is that Bitcoin is running. Like, that is kind of wild. The bond market is a major concern, y'all. And I'm going to show you a Yahoo article that just came out about this. I've talked about this like every day for the last week or so. But yields are surging. Following Moody's downgrade, the 10-year note is nearing 4.6%. This is a really big deal because we have roughly $9 trillion of debt expiring, rolling over within the next 12 months. This 10-year yield percentage is going to determine how much interest we're paying on that debt. This is a really big deal. And the more these rise, the worse it's going to be. Trade deals, recession worries, lower inflation, slowing GDP, can't get lower yields. We have lost control of the bond market. It's not good. Okay, it's not good. And you look, it's not just the U.S. This is happening all over the world. This is the fiat system failing. Basically, like, people are losing faith in fiat. Gold and Bitcoin are the big winners here. Gold and Bitcoin are the big winners. We're seeing it in real time. 30-year mortgage rate is hit 7.4%, nearing its high this century since 2000. Okay, not like in the last 100 years, but since 2000. It's crazy to see it happening like this. You read about it, you talk about it, but it's happening in real time. Like, we are seeing this come to fruition. And this is the Yahoo article I'm talking about. And I want to run through some of the stuff in this article. But they're talking about another failed U.S. bond auction. People are starting to get worried. Okay, so let's look at this article from Yahoo. They're talking about them doing a stealthy QE. They vacuumed up $43.6 billion in U.S. Treasuries. Now, there's some debate as to whether this is true QE or not. People are saying, well, it's not. Changing the balance of their book. Basically, they had some bonds that came due, that matured, and they were basically, it was rolling over. So they weren't issuing new bonds. But regardless, I think the main takeaways here, though, is what they're talking about down here, which is that gold is winning. Gold doesn't believe in politicians, central bankers, or economists. It believes numbers, right? Gold has been on a hell of a run recently. It's pulled back a little bit, but this year it's been going crazy. China has been buying a ton of gold. I'm not sure if I have that in here or not. Yeah, I do. Okay, we'll come over that in a second. But the other part, they talk a bit about Bitcoin here. Bitcoin because crypto investors distrust central planners. Gold because central planners distrust each other. Bitcoin is rising not only due to the distrust of central banks and the neat little fiat currency Ponzi schemes they've been running for years, but also because a year ago, Bitcoin experienced its latest halving event, pushing it to typical bullish upswing. Okay, that's the 4-year cycle. Additionally, institutional and retail money is flowing into Bitcoin ETFs, reinforcing Bitcoin's legitimacy as a mainstream financial asset. And here we go again, the stealth QE. The Fed is quietly hitting the QE button. Bitcoin might become the investment equivalent of a midnight convenience store burrito. Volatile, but satisfying. Fair enough. Fair enough. And there's one more part down here I wanted to cover. Let's see here. Here it is. While QE typically props up U.S. stocks, the stealth of this move amid declining trust, this is what we were just talking about, declining trust in fiat currencies and rising geopolitical tensions, uniquely positions gold, Bitcoin in Latin America as prime shelters and profitable opportunities. Okay. People are losing faith in the fiat system. Again, look, I'm not like sounding the alarm saying that like the fiat system is going to die tomorrow. I don't think that's the case. In fact, I think the US dollar is going to remain dominant for some time. I do think, though, over time, there will be a reset at some point. Okay. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but I think it's going to happen. I think gold and Bitcoin are going to be huge winners in this. And as the younger population ages, and we have that transfer of wealth I was talking about earlier, Bitcoin is going to do very well, in my opinion. Very exciting. Very exciting. I talked about Chinese investors loading up on gold at record rates. Yeah. We saw this with the tariffs. I know there's a lot of us feeling the pain in the U.S., and obviously we're still feeling that pain. Let's be real. China was feeling it too. And they were devaluing their currency to deal with the situation. Not to mention, like, they've already been in a recession. They were bailing out their banking system last year, just destroying the value of their currency. They're going to gold. But China's also, their government is buying gold. This is worth noting. All the governments are buying gold right now. Okay, I think they're all getting ready to have some sort of a backing again, because the fiat system, again, is breaking down in front of our eyes. The reverse repo facility. This is another reason why I think QE is coming. Okay, so it was basically banks lend to each other overnight, and the Fed, the government stepped in. The Fed stepped in, and this was a way for them to pull liquidity out of the market after they had printed a ton of money, and they got up to $2.5 trillion. They have essentially been implementing QE by pushing these funds back into the markets, and it's almost dry. Okay, so they've almost completely exhausted this option of pushing liquidity into markets. I think once this is exhausted, and it's very close, they will have to start QE, in my opinion. I think it's coming. And again, QE would be them pushing liquidity essentially into the financial markets. Which is good. It's good for the stock market, for crypto, for risk on assets. Very good thing. But I talk about this every time because I think people get really, really bullish. I think it's great to be bullish in the markets, y'all. But I also think that we need to touch grass at times. I know I say this a lot, but the underlying economy is not very strong right now. There's so many warning signs. One of them is that auto loans are seeing delinquencies. I talked recently about the student loans, now are being collected on again. All these things are hurting a large percentage of the population. Okay, we're seeing credit card delinquencies again, like move up to what we saw during the 2008 crisis. the Great Recession, right? These are all warning signs that we need to pay attention to. And in my opinion, like I think we could see a definite run up. We could see, Bitcoin continue to run. I think we could see Altseason happen. But I think it's going to be, and I say this every time, it's going to be really important to be diligent about locking in profits because at any time the music can stop. I think it's really important to be cognizant of that because there's a lot of weakness in the economy and it's been there for quite a while. Okay, this is nothing new. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox there. Getting into some of the global news here, and I'm gonna probably hop off here, but I'll be back on tomorrow. I'll cover a lot more tomorrow. I'm gonna do a lot more on the DePIN side of things tomorrow too. This is a big story. This is quite sad. Joe Biden was diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer, and apparently it's spread to his bones. Very unfortunate news. And the really unfortunate thing is I'm seeing it like really politicized already. You see even this person down here talking about, oh, it's not real. Y'all, like this is sad. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. This is really sad news, and best wishes to Joe Biden and his family. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, I hope this isn't like politicized too much, and hopefully he can get treatment and be okay. But obviously, if it's spread his bones, that's not good news. That's not good news. But you hate to see that stuff politicized, and you see it on both sides. It's really unfortunate. A couple other things I've seen. This report that Russia is going to be launching these missiles, and I was like, okay, is this real? Well, Reuters is reporting the same thing, and essentially, it's a flex. They're trying to pressure and intimidate Ukraine, but also the EU and NATO member states. One thing to note here: these missiles have a 6,200-mile range. Wild. So things could be escalating there. That said, Trump is supposed to be having negotiations or a phone call at least with Putin tomorrow morning. So let's see what happens there. Ukraine and Russia was supposed to meet last Thursday, and Putin did not make the trip. And it basically came out that they're like, okay, Trump needs to be directly involved for this to happen. So we'll see what comes of this phone call tomorrow morning. But yeah, this is, you don't like to see this type of escalation. That's not good news. Something else in the news that we saw over the weekend was this ship that collided with the Brooklyn Bridge. And well, I'll show you this view of it first. Anyway, I think there's just some injuries, but anyway, this thing, I think it lost power essentially and ran with the Brooklyn Bridge, but there were people up there that were like dangling. Yeah, that's not good, not a good situation, but I think they were able to save the people. So that's good. And then a couple other cool stories. They're putting solar panels on Switzerland's train tracks. That's pretty cool. And the AI race is continuing. We are hearing more and more that China is not far behind the U.S. In fact, they might be in line with the U.S. UAE is like third in AI right now in the AI race, but China has launched their first and largest fleet of 100 driverless drivers mining. Look at this. There are no people controlling any of these. That is crazy. That is crazy. And that is the future, y'all. There's like people walking around like, yep, you're doing a good job to the cars, the trucks. Like, what? That's absolutely bananas to me. We're going to see more and more of this, and especially as we get to AGI, more robotics. There are going to be buildings that are like built with very few people. It's going to be mostly robots. And it's going to happen sooner than people realize, for sure. Pretty crazy stuff there. But where are we at? Where are we at on Bitcoin? I want to see that real quick. We're at 105, still 105,000. I'll tell you what, I think we might hit an all-time high in the next week, probably the next couple of days. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see how it reacts tomorrow. I think the stock market's going to open up red after the Moody's downgrade. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have. We'll see. We'll see. But I remain bullish on Bitcoin in the short term. Obviously, long term, very bullish. Let's be real. But I'm hoping that we see a sustained rally long enough that we see Bitcoin dominance drop, that we see altcoin season start. We see DePIN have a major comeback. But in the medium term, I'm not so sure. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all joining. We got up to like 80 people tonight. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I'll be back tomorrow at the normal time. Appreciate y'all. Take care.